All right. Magandang umaga, everyone. Good morning. My name is Jose Cuevas. I am the outreach officer on the JOIDES Resolution. So that means that it is my job to communicate science and to introduce the ship to everyone we come in contact with. And today I have the very distinct pleasure of celebrating and honoring our Filipino crew members. So thank you for tuning in to this very special broadcast. And today we're going to be talking about the Barangay JOIDES Resolution. So as I said before, my name is Jose Cuevas and I am the outreach officer for the ship, the JOIDES Resolution. I am currently a master's student at Boston College. Let's talk a little bit about my background. So my full name is Jose Miquel de Cuevas. I was born in Metro Manila in the Philippines a couple of decades ago, and I was raised in San Diego, California. So I am originally from the Philippines, and I am also a first-generation Filipino-American. When I did my baccalaureate degree, I went to the University of San Diego and graduated in 2017 with a bachelor's in marine science. And currently, I am at Boston College here in beautiful Boston, Massachusetts, doing my master's degree in geology. So I should be finished with my master's degree next year, but we'll see if I decide to stick around. I really love going to sea. I really appreciate going to sea. And one thing I love about going to sea is the fact that it feels like reuniting with the Filipino community at large. So this is me, unfortunately not on the JOIDES Resolution. This is me with the sediment core on a ship called the RV Robert Gordon Sproul, which sailed out of San Diego. So this was just after I finished my baccalaureate degree. So we're going to see some more photos like this on a slightly bigger ship, on a slightly cooler ship, and a ship that I am very excited to tell the story of today. So on to the next slide. I called this presentation the Barangay JOIDES Resolution, and there's a very important reason for this. A barangay, as I'm sure everyone who's watching knows, means neighborhood. A barangay is our neighborhood. And pre-colonial boats were actually called balangay. So that is a type of parao that was a specific kind of boat that existed in the Philippines before the arrival of the Spanish. So modern ships are homes, they're neighborhoods, they're where we live, they're where we work, they're where we play. There's a very strong sense of community between everyone who lives in a barangay. A barangay has a captain, a ship has a captain. The ship's captain is like the mayor of the ship. So it's a very close comparison where this is our home, this is where we live, this is where we work, this is where we play. I think it's a very good comparison, even if the ship looks a little different from that picture I have here. So I also want to talk about Filipinos in the maritime industry. So our people have been involved in the worldwide maritime industry since the galleon trade. So I'm sure a lot of you knew this. We've been at sea for over 500 years. We've had ships before the Spanish arrived too. So it's only been, we've been involved in the global maritime industry for 500 years, but we've been at sea for much, much longer than that. But today, roughly 1/5 of the 1.2 million maritime workers worldwide are Filipino. So that means there are about 240,000 Filipinos working and living aboard ships. So for comparison, that is the same number of Filipinos who live in the San Francisco Bay Area. That is the same number of Filipinos who live in Honolulu, Hawaii. There are 180,000 Filipinos who live in San Diego. So that's where I grew up. There are more Filipinos working on ships than there are in the San Diego metropolitan area. In fact, the Philippines is the world's main supplier of sailors since 1987. So for, this is 35 years, almost 40 years, there have been more sailors coming from the Philippines than any other country. So that is 1/5 of the global maritime industry. That is the world's biggest supply of sailors for the past several decades. This is the ship that we're working with. Unfortunately, I'm not aboard. If you can't tell, I am currently in my very small Boston apartment. I would love to be on the ship. Unfortunately, global health concerns do not allow for that at the moment. But the JOIDES Resolution is a really special and a really important ship. So it was she was launched in 1978. She is 470.5 feet long, or 143.4 meters long. And she is 9,719 short tons. So she's just shy of 10,000 gross tons. Owned by Seam Offshore and operated by the JOIDES Resolution Science Operator. And we're going to talk a lot about everyone who brings the ship to life. Anyone who has sailed before can tell you that, and this was something that one of the other scientists involved in this project said earlier today on Twitter, the crew makes the cruise. So we're going to talk a little bit about the kind of work that we do on the ship, why we're so proud of it, and the kind of people aboard the ship and why we're so proud of them. So I'm very, very excited for tonight. So the International Ocean Discovery Program is the really big scientific collaboration that we all work with. So I am an outreach officer for the JOIDES Resolution, and the JOIDES Resolution is a ship operating as part of the International Ocean Discovery Program. Whenever I talk about what I do for work with my parents, my mom asks me, why collect rocks? Which is a really, really good question. And that's also exactly how we do science. We start with a question, and that question guides us to discover and learn more things. So this actually dates all the way back to the 1960s with something called Project Mohole. So the scientists way back in the 1960s came up with their own question. Can we dig all the way through the crust and find the mantle? So they got their own boat. It wasn't the JOIDES Resolution quite yet. This was a boat that had a giant drill on top, and they tried to see if they could dig all the way through the crust. They could not, and to this day, we still have not drilled all the way to the mantle, but projects like Project Mohole and leading into the International Ocean Discovery Program have helped develop our understanding of how the Earth works a lot. So this kind of science, this kind of work has helped us understand the theory of continental drift, and it's helped us understand a lot of other foundational ideas behind Earth science today. Moving forward into 2050, we actually have our own new set of guiding questions, which are going to be super helpful going forward. And I think that these are actually pretty clearly written. So the first one is that we research the processes that connect the solid Earth, ocean, life, climate, and society. The second point is that we explore the interconnected Earth in places that can only be accessed and understood through scientific ocean drilling. The third is we traverse time to reveal the many interactions that shaped Earth's geologic past to illuminate our future. And the fourth point is we communicate knowledge gained through scientific ocean drilling to the global community. And I really want to highlight we communicate knowledge gained through scientific ocean drilling through the global community. So what we're doing right now is giving back to that global community that helps us do that science by communicating that knowledge gained. Again, we research the processes that connect the solid Earth, ocean, life, climate, and society. So if you think about life on the Philippine Islands, we are very closely connected with the solid Earth. We are very closely connected with the ocean. We are very closely connected to life and climate. One of my favorite stories that my father used to tell me as a kid, that my dad used to tell me when I was growing up, is that one day, my dad tried to visit Mount Pinatubo. That was when Mount Pinatubo erupted. So the Philippines is right on the Pacific Ring of Fire. This is a very active part of the Earth. We see a lot of volcanoes. We see a lot of volcanic activity. My dad thankfully survived seeing Mount Pinatubo, but he had to outrun the volcano and his car was completely covered in ash. So that is firsthand the solid Earth life and climate interaction. We also explore the interconnected Earth in places that can only be accessed and understood through scientific ocean drilling. So there are a lot of places on this planet that are a little hard to get to. Most of the planet is covered by ocean. So it turns out if we want to explore the ocean, It's a lot easier to explore the ocean if we have a special boat, if we have a special ship. So the JOIDES Resolution helps us explore the interconnected Earth in hard-to-find places like the ocean. We also traverse time to reveal the many interactions that have shaped Earth's geologic past to illuminate our future. So if we understand what has happened on our planet before, we can understand how the planet is going to change in the future, and that is going to help us be prepared so that the young people can inherit the planet. And again, I already talked about this, but we communicate the knowledge gained through scientific ocean drilling to the global community. So we really do want to share everything we learned with everyone involved. We want to share everything we learn with people from several different countries. And this is what we collect. So I say that we collect rock samples. They are core samples. They are like big cylinders that are made of sand or dirt or mud, sometimes even hard, solid rock. They can be a lot of different colors. They can be a lot of different consistencies. It depends on where we are when we're doing our science. It depends on what science we're doing. It could be very different depending on where we are. So on our current expedition, they'll look a little more like this. So the ship right now is over the Reykjanes Ridge. So this is just south of Iceland. So right now the ship is mostly drilling basalt, and all of the sediment, that's going to be the sand and dirt and mud that is above the basalt. So basalt is a volcanic rock, and it looks a lot like a volcanic rock. It is dark in color. It's hard. It looks like a rock. So these are actually new samples that were collected this summer. And this is new. This is rock that only a few people have seen before today. So everyone joining us today is seeing brand new rock that's been collected. We've barely even started thinking about what we can learn from these samples. So it's super exciting for me to be able to share this with all of you. And we're still about to learn what we can learn from this. So stay tuned. Hopefully we'll have more to share with you very soon. And I've said the word international a few times, right? So we have crew members from the Philippines. We have crew members from the United States. We have scientists from Italy, France, the United Kingdom, Japan, China. We have Australia. We have scientists from all over the world joining us, from the shore and on the ship. And we have been almost everywhere in the ocean too. So this is a map of almost every expedition that the JOIDES Resolution and the old ship have been on. So we have been everywhere. And it takes a lot of teamwork to do this. It takes a lot of international teamwork to do this. And we have been everywhere. We are trying to learn as much as we can about this planet so that we can share it with everyone, so that we can share it for the young people. And we have been everywhere. We have even been in Southeast Asia. So there have been a lot of expeditions. The map I just showed you was not complete. But before I talk about the expedition we are on right now, I want to talk really quickly about Expedition 363, Expedition 363. This was called Western Pacific Warm Pool. And you can see the Philippine Islands right here. So that's the Philippines. This is the JOIDES Resolution again. So you see our ship, and she has a very big, this is called a drill derrick on top. So she has a very distinctive profile. So there's the Philippines, there's Australia. And this is a part of the ocean that historically and today has been very warm. So it's very interesting to study so we can understand what life is like with warm oceans. And you can see that these expeditions take about 2 months at a time. So we sailed here, it looks like, from October 6th in Singapore and ended on December 8th in Guam. And this was in 2016. So we sailed kind of through here and up and through. And I really wanted to highlight this because I think that it's important that we do go all over the world, but we also make a point to do science all over the world. This is right next door to the Philippine Islands. We have had some drilling expeditions that have been closer to the Philippine Islands as well, within the Sulu Sea and the South China Sea. But this is one of the more recent expeditions, and you can see that if this is where we're going to do our science, we are learning things that can help teach and help affect the Philippine people moving into the very near future. And it looks like Patricia in our chat was actually sailing with us on Expedition 363. So I want to really quickly acknowledge that as well. So where we are right now is a mission called Expedition 395C. So originally this was planned as a slightly different expedition. We were still going just south of Iceland to learn more about this very big V-shaped ridge. This is the Reykjanes Ridge. So this is what we call a mid-ocean ridge. This is where new ocean crust, so the bottom of the ocean, new ocean is actually being created. So that line is moving in two directions. So it's moving here to the west and here to the east. We have new ocean being created here. So it's great to learn about how oceans are born. Here we have another picture of the JOIDES Resolution facing the other direction now. Still got that really big drill derrick up top. And we have some nice volcanism up here. So because this is an active spreading area, because we have new ocean being created here, I mentioned that some of the samples we're collecting are volcanic rocks. And you see this great picture of a volcano here. If you go on the internet and you look up Iceland volcano, you'll see some wonderful pictures and wonderful videos of some volcanically active areas in Iceland. So this is where we're going, and we're going to actually show you a map. So this is where the ship started, and then we sailed out one day, and everything is within a day's sail of Reykjavik. But we've had a lot of very hardworking crew members sailing here just a day from Reykjavik. This is in the Atlantic Ocean. This is on the other side of the world from the Pacific Ocean. And it takes a lot of teamwork, and it takes a lot of hard work. So what we're going to learn here is going to teach us how oceans are born. It's going to teach us how this part of the ocean has changed over the last long amount of time. But honestly, the science that we do couldn't be possible without all of the teamwork that happens on the ship, right? So we have a lot of hardworking people who fill a lot of different jobs, who fill a lot of different roles on the ship. So we have a very hardworking crew, and it turns out, I mentioned earlier, there are a lot of overseas Filipino workers who are part of the maritime industry. So the JOIDES Resolution is a ship. We are in the maritime industry, as it were. And I feel like, I know for me, this is kind of a dream job. I'm sure for many, many more crew members, this is also a dream job. And I'm really glad that we get to celebrate everyone being able to do this today, because it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of hard work. It takes a lot of hard teamwork, but it is worth it because of everything we're able to do. So the start of this journey was still during the COVID-19 pandemic that we're still in. And even though everyone had been tested for COVID, they actually had to set sail wearing masks. So everyone wore masks for 2 weeks. Everyone on the ship had to wear masks for 2 weeks before we were sure that there was no COVID on board. So even though everyone's masked, you can still see everyone is smiling. Everyone is working hard. Everyone is still having a good time. Everyone is trying to make the most out of this expedition. Everyone wants to help learn more about how oceans are made. And then after that 2 weeks, you don't have to wear your mask anymore. You should still be safe. There are a lot of other personal protective equipment that you should wear if you're doing certain things. But right now, the ship does not have to be masked. So I am very happy that everyone on the ship is safe. And I'm very happy that everyone is able to enjoy a meal and look at that view. They can see the ocean. It's I'm jealous. I wish I were on the ship right now. I wish I were sharing this meal and looking at the sea with everyone. So as I said, everyone on the ship has a different job, and all of those jobs are important to make sure that we can do all of the drilling operations. We can collect all of the rock samples that we need to. Every single job is important. And let's start with the hotel crew and the galley crew. So on a ship, the kitchen is called a galley, and the dining room is called a mess hall. For me, Filipino culture has a lot to do with food culture. When I went home to visit my parents most recently, we actually had lechon. So lechon, as I'm sure most of us watching know, is this whole roasted Filipino pig. And so you see the apple, you see the pig. This is a very traditional Filipino dish, and it finds its way onto the menu every once in a while. Just a quick little sneak peek at the next one of the next slides. But this whole roasted Filipino pig is a traditional meal in the Philippines. I think it's a communal meal, so everyone can share. That's very important in Filipino culture, that we are able to share our meals. And the crew comes together at least 4 times a day. So there are 4 meals. So that's going to be midnight and noon, 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. And there are also 4 cookie breaks. So that's 3 a.m. and 3 p.m. and 9 a.m., 9 p.m. So really that's 8 meals. So that's, again, midnight and noon. So that's 12 a.m., 12 p.m., 6 a.m., 6 p.m. for the real meals. And there are cookie breaks at 3 a.m., 3 p.m., and 9 a.m., 9 p.m. So if you know Filipinos, we like having more than just 3 meals in a day. And you can see that worked its way onto the ship too. This is a sample of the menu this weekend. So when I was talking to our crew on the ship, they told me that this weekend we are having a Philippines-themed meal. So they shared with me the menu. So those of you who are watching from the ship have a sneak peek of what the menu is for this weekend. So it looks like we've got sinigang, we have beef tapa, lechon kawali, which I just spent a lot of time talking about, tiger prawn skewers, chicken imasal, grilled tilapia, pork picadillo, pancit canton. I am so jealous. So I had sinigang for dinner, and I'm still jealous of all of this. Oh, this also. I had sinigang for dinner, and I am so jealous of the fact that everyone is going to have pork sinigang. But this isn't every meal. You can see everyone works very hard on meals like this, and I think this is going to be a very good chance for us to share our food culture with everyone else on board. So this is a really good menu. Oh, it makes me wish I was home. And you can see the nice made in the Philippines. So like I said, the galley is the kitchen on the ship. So this is a fully equipped kitchen facility. And there are pots and pans and industrial grade, everything that you need to cook a menu like that, and also other kinds of menus too. So Philippines night isn't the only theme night that happens on board. And everyone who works in the galley works very hard to make sure that everyone is well fed, because that means everyone is happy, and that means everyone is doing their jobs. And because everyone is doing their jobs, everyone is working together to make sure that we can get everything done. And they have a really creative way of being able to plate all of the dishes. I know a lot of the galley crew and a lot of the hotel crew are very, very proud of the fact that they are able to have really impressive presentations of what they serve everyone on board. Like, these are apples as birds. I have never seen anything like this. And I would feel bad eating this because this is beautiful. But I would have to eat it because I want to make sure that I have enough energy to do my job on the ship, which is this, talking to all of you, sharing with all of you everything that's happening on board. But this is beautiful. I love all of the care and all of the attention to detail that went into making this. And birthdays are also a really big deal on the JOIDES resolution. So I know, even though I am working from Boston, I am working remotely from Boston, calling into the ship. This is a real thing that happens. But I got my own special birthday surprise. But if I were on the ship, you see they're making cake, and you get hand-delivered a cake for your birthday. So even if you have to be far away from home, working hard, if it's your birthday, you'll have a very special celebration, because this is important. It's an important time to be part of a community, and it's special. We want to make sure that this is still a special time for you, because it's your birthday. It's important. You only get one a year, and even if you're working hard on a ship, you deserve something nice and you deserve something special. So it's because of the hard work of a very specific set of our crew members that we are able to do this. Okay, so I've talked, oh, that's beautiful. So again, I said they work very hard on the presentation of what their food is, and it looks amazing. I've looked at these pictures a lot, but every time I see them, I start drooling, because it's great food, and I'm a food person, and I'm really happy and excited that everyone works so hard on this. But let's talk a little bit about something else. We also have a lot of Filipino crew members. We also have a lot of Filipino crew members who work in engineering. So the JOIDES Resolution is a very special ship. I talked about earlier how she was 470 feet long. I didn't even talk about how tall she was, but she is a very tall ship, different from a tall ship. She is a very tall ship because she has what is called a drill derrick on top. The ship has a drill derrick on top. So we collect our rock samples using special drills. So we have several engineering crew members who are responsible for running the drill machinery. This is the how of collecting rock samples. So everyone works very hard. This is the people who actually bring the rock samples up from the drill floor after it goes. This is a mile, several kilometers down to the ocean floor, drilling down below. So this is really cool. The ship floats here on top of the water. It's like aiming a straw into a hole, except there are several miles, there are several kilometers of water between the boat and all of the dirt and sand and mud and rock. So this is the dirt and sand and mud and rock we want. This is a giant metal straw, and we have to aim the drill like this. So we have very talented engineers on our ship. And we also have a few special drill bits, depending on whether we are looking at very soft mud or very hard rock. So that there is the half advanced piston core, or the advanced piston core. There is the extended core barrel, and there is the rotary core barrel. If we're in really soft mud, we can use something like the advanced piston core, which kind of sucks up all of the soft mud into a cylinder, like I was showing in my own picture earlier. If we're in slightly harder rock, we're going to need a little more teeth. We're going to need more teeth to help dig into that really hard rock. So if we are working with really hard rock samples, we will use something like the extended core barrel or something like the rotary core barrel, which has sharper teeth that'll help dig into the hard rock. And the sailors, the Filipino sailors who work on our drill floor, are very hardworking, and they're working with a smile on their face. So that they work very hard near industrial machines, which I should know more about, and I do not know more about. They're working closely together in teams. So you see, there's a lot of extra personal protective equipment, right? I said earlier that on the first 2 weeks of the expedition, everyone had to wear masks, and now they don't have to wear masks on the ship. But there's still a lot of danger being on a ship with heavy machinery like the JOIDES Resolution. The derrick goes up and up and up, and there are big drills and big machinery and lots of big moving parts. So you still need a hard hat. You still need a work vest. You need gloves. You need so many more personal protective equipment to make sure everyone is doing their job. That's important. But more important is everyone is doing their job safely. We want to make sure everyone is doing their job safely. So everyone has their own set of personal protective equipment to make sure that they are protected. And as part of that, every week we do something called a lifeboat drill. So every ship is equipped with some number of lifeboats, depending on how many people are aboard. So every week we want to make sure that you can get from your workstation to the lifeboat in case of an emergency, knock on wood. So here you see everyone cooperating with a lifeboat drill on the left. And on the right, you see some very accomplished drillers. You see drillers who have been working hard and are very proud of what they do, because this is very hard work. It's very difficult work. And I'm very proud of the fact that they do work so hard, because if it weren't for these gentlemen, if it weren't for these drillers, we wouldn't have any rock samples. So we wouldn't be able to learn more about continental drift. On our current mission, on our current expedition, we wouldn't even be able to learn more about how new ocean is made. So because we depend on these rock samples, it's the fact that our drillers can collect the rock samples. Our drillers can operate the drill. Our drillers can operate the machinery. This is a very, very important job. It's important that we celebrate these Filipino sailors as well. So that's two very important, indispensable jobs on the ship, two very important jobs on the ship that we could not do the science that we do, that we could not do the job that we do without them. So I'm very proud of these two groups of sailors. And there's another group of sailors on board too that have those of Filipino descent. So I'm going to talk a little bit about technician Zenon Mateo. So Zenon Mateo is one of the technicians on the JOIDES Resolution. He actually lives in Manila when he doesn't work on the ship. So he actively lives in the Philippines when he is not on the ship. He'll return home to Manila. He does a lot of different things, and I asked him and I asked some of the other technicians on board, what do you do? Because you do a lot of important work, and I want to understand what it is you do. And they gave me a very long list. So a very small sample is that a technician will process core samples. They will create thin sections. They will develop and document scientific procedures. They will operate some of the machinery that we have on board. They will operate some of the very, very special scientific equipment that we have on board. So this is a very, very specialized job that involves knowing a lot about the ship, knowing a lot about the sort of science that we do on the ship. They'll direct the members of the science party, so visiting scientists like me, they'll tell them what is safe. I talked a lot about personal protective equipment, right? They want to make sure that all the scientists are safe, because if the scientists aren't safe, then we can't do our jobs. If the drillers aren't safe, they can't do their jobs. So safety is important. Safety is the number one thing on a ship like this. We want to make sure everyone is safe and able to do their jobs and is able to be healthy. So everyone needs to make sure that they're doing things safely. The technicians, I mentioned that we have special machines in our laboratories. So the technicians are in charge of maintaining and repairing those special machines, maintaining that special laboratory equipment. They do a lot of library type work. So they make sure everything is organized. They make sure everything is labeled. I saw a picture of a rock sample earlier this expedition that was taken apart in so many different pieces because it came up from the drill floor in many different pieces. This is nobody's fault. Sometimes this just happens. So it was up to the technicians like Zenon to put it all back together again and put a special label on every part. All of the technicians like Zenon had to make sure it was put back together again, and made sure that each label had a tag saying exactly what that piece of the rock was. They're in charge of making sure that we have all of the scientific supplies we need. And they're also in charge of, I said, developing and documenting scientific procedures. They're the experts, so they spend a lot more time on the ship than visiting scientists like me would spend. I would have spent 2 months. Scientists, the technicians like Xenon would spend 2 months on the ship. They'd spend a little bit of time at home. They'd spend another 2 months on the ship. They'd spend another few months at home. So they are more familiar with the machinery. They are more familiar with the cores. They are more familiar with how we document and write everything up. So they are important subject matter experts. They know how the ship works. So they tell visitors like me, this is how it works. This is how we stay safe. This is how we collect the rocks. This is how we make sure that all of the rocks we collect are organized the right way. So they know a lot about how the ship works on a week-to-week and a month-to-month basis on the science side. We also have visiting scientists like me. So I would have been on the ship for 2 months. Again, normally I live in Boston, but I would have visited the ship for 2 months to work on board. So my job as the outreach officer is that I manage the ship's social media feeds. So when the JOIDES Resolution is talking on Facebook, that is me. When the JOIDES Resolution is hosting a tour or hosting a broadcast, that is me. That is my face. That is my voice. And my job is to translate the science. So the scientists will observe, describe, and interpret all of the cores, all of the rocks that we collect, and all of the data that we collect. And it is my job to be able to tell everyone else, the scientists said a lot of science words. This is what they mean. So if a member of our sedimentology group in our science party said something like, so 30 million years ago, we had a large collection and large accumulation of foraminiferal ooze that contacted with the volcanic material in the Reconus Ridge. This is a real thing that was said in a meeting today. I would be able to say that 30 million years ago, there was plankton and volcanoes happening at the same time. So the plankton died because plankton don't live that long. When plankton die, they'll sink. And as it sunk, it found something that was volcanically active. Volcanoes are very hot. So when dead plankton meet volcanoes, plankton melts. So that's my job. I make sure that things still sound really cool, still sound understandable, but you understand the science that is being said. Scientists have a lot of jargon because they're doing very specific work. It's just like the drillers have very specific jargon because they know things about the drills, they know things about the machinery that I don't know, but they can use those words to communicate with the other drillers. It's just like the members of the culinary staff have very specific words for cooking that I don't know because I am not good at cooking. So everyone has their own specific jobs, and if you remove one group, then we can't do the special science that we do. So everyone on the ship is super important, and I really want to recognize that we have a really large amount of Filipino sailors on this ship, because this is an industry where we see a lot of overseas Filipino workers. This is an industry where you become very close with everyone you work with, everyone you live with, everyone on the ship. That's a lot like a very close-knit Filipino community. There are a lot of the same values on a ship as there are in the Philippines. I was talking a lot about Xenon earlier. Here is another picture of Xenon, if the slide goes over. Wearing cold weather gear in a very cold part of the world. So the ship really does get to go all over the world, and our Filipino crew members will go with the ship all over the world too. So they will see ports all over the place. I showed the map at the very beginning of the presentation. So they'll go places like Reykjavik, Iceland is where we were just now. Last year, some of our sailors were able to visit San Diego, California. They visited Baja, California. They visited Tahiti. The ship goes everywhere. So also that we can learn more about this planet, which is ours, and more importantly, this planet, which the youth are going to inherit one day. The young people are going to inherit this planet. So it is up to us to learn more so that our young people can learn even more and know how to protect the planet. So I want to, it's important that everyone understands what's going on between every department, right? So, like I said, my job is to translate the science, to share it with you, everyone at home, our friends and family, our Pinoy friends and family. But it's also important that we're able to share it with everyone on board, because everyone is working together for the same goal here. This is a community. A ship is a barangay. A ship is a neighborhood. So everyone working on the ship, everyone living on the ship is part of the same neighborhood. They are part of the same community. And it is important that we share share our jobs with every member of the community. It is important that we celebrate every member of that community. So I really wanted to celebrate every Filipino member of our ship working in every department today, because the global maritime industry over the last several hundred years would not exist without you. This is something that our people have worked for hundreds of years, and I think it is very important to recognize us and that we work very hard and we have our own special expertise. And everyone at home, we're all doing a very important job. I'm very happy. This is honestly a dream job for me, because I get to be a scientist and I get to be on the ship. I am so homesick for the Philippines and for a ship like this, because this is a very unique place. It is a very special place. It is its own neighborhood. And places like ships are like nowhere else on Earth. And you will get to visit so many places on Earth if you are part of a community like the JOIDES Resolution. So I'm sure some of you found us on Twitter at @TheJR. We're also on Instagram at @JOIDES_resolution. We are on Facebook. I know a lot of us are watching from Facebook, so hello to our really big Facebook audience. And we're also on YouTube. So hello to our YouTube audience as well, at the JOIDES Resolution, or JOIDES Resolution on Facebook. So thanks to everyone who is joining us from all of our different platforms. This has been an honor to share with all of you. I think it's important to share everyone who is part of this community, part of this very, very special seagoing community. And I want to end off with this slide. I want to say maraming salamat po. Many thanks to all of you. This is a picture of me and my family the last time I was home, the last time I was in the Philippines. So I talked a little bit about how I was born in Metro Manila. I am a Filipino-American, so I immigrated to the United States when I was very young. But my parents have always reminded me, you are Filipino, you were born Filipino, you have Filipino blood in your veins. And there are very special bonds between me and the ocean. There are very special bonds, I'm sure, between other Filipino mariners and overseas Filipino workers and the ocean. And to me, the best day ever is any day I can spend on a boat. So the absolute best day for me was when I could spend a day with, this is me, this is my sister and my dad and my mom, and this is my cousin and her husband and their kid. The best day ever was when I could spend a day with my extended family on a boat in the Philippines, which is my home. So again, maraming salamat po. Thank you all for joining me over the last just shy of an hour, just shy of 45 minutes. Thank you so much for joining us. And I really hope that we're going to be able to learn more so that we can share more with you. I hope that everyone watching is proud of their own Filipino sailor, their own overseas Filipino worker, regardless of what their job is. And I also want to say, because the Olympics did start today, go Team Philippines. I'm wearing a Team Philippines soccer jersey. I know Team Philippines isn't in the Olympics for soccer, but this is me showing my support for Team Philippines, both on the ship and out there in Tokyo. So go Team Philippines, everyone on the ship. I hope everyone has a lovely rest of your day. I hope this was a fun start to your Saturday, and I hope that I'll be able to share more things like this with all of you soon. Bye.